Hello everyone, welcome to True Crime's Coldest Winter, and I am Winter. I am here to talk about the true crime cases that simply plagues me. So today's case, I let you all choose the topic out of the Saeed sisters or out of Junko Furuta. I did get a 50-50 on that. I was considering doing the Saeed sisters, however, I did apply for the Magellan TV Dream Job opportunity. It's on the list of the shows to watch for the Dream Job. To watch true crime shows for 24 hours is a price of honor. That has to do with the Saeed sisters, and I've seen that time and time again already. It's a long shot, but if I do get chosen, I will have to do an episode on that anyway. So I decided to go with Junko Furuta. This case is very bone-chilling. When I first heard about it, I said, okay, this might be, but maybe not. It just sounds cruel and absurd and unconscionable to be true. But I did some research, and it is a true story, unfortunately. It's one of those, your worst nightmares. Like, the worst thing that you think could happen to yourself happened in this case. I don't even think anyone can even think of the worst thing that could happen to them and come up with what happened to her. I think what happened to her is like, nobody would even think of that. I have to ask you guys, have you ever turned down a potential suitor in a relationship? Have you ever said no? When you said no, the other person, how did they react? What was the worst thing that they did? I'm pretty sure it's nowhere near what this guy did to a wonderful, beautiful young lady who was born in Japan. So I'm going to take you to Japan, and we're going to talk about Mrs. Junko Furuta.
Two dumb friends and one mean man, well, she'll fucking kill you. She wins every fight, she's gonna rock your shit by the end of the night. And the only advantage that a killer has is they think they have the right. I listen to a lot of true crime, I listen to it at night.
Junko Furuta was born on January 18th, 1971 in Masato, Saitama, Japan. And she lived with her parents, her older brother and her youngest brother, so she was the middle child. As a teen, she attended Yashio Minami High School. She worked part-time at a plastic molding factory during her after-school hours. She worked there to save up enough money for plans that she arranged for her graduation that was just around the corner. She also accepted a job at an electronics retailer, and she planned on working there after she graduated from high school. She was pretty, she was bright, she was well liked by her peers. She had high grades, very infrequent absences. She didn't smoke, she didn't drink, she didn't do drugs. She was very popular in school, and she was just a normal teenage girl with a seemingly bright future ahead of her. So Junko had a classmate. His name is Hiroshi Miyano. He was 18 years old at the time. His birthday is April 30th, 1970. He was well known in high school for being a bully. He would often brag about his connections with the all-powerful Yakuza Association, which is an organized crime cartel, basically. In English terms, it would be kind of like a gang. So Hiroshi was a gangster. The Yakuza, they originated in Japan. They are known by the media and by the Japanese police to be a very violent group of people. And they have a very strict code of conduct. They have very unconventional practices, such as the amputation of your left little finger. We'll talk about that part later as well. Their members are made of mostly men who wear suits, and they typically have tattoos all over their bodies with slit back hair. They're regarded to be the most sophisticated and wealthiest criminal organization. At their highest point, the Yakuza, they received massive appearances in the media, and they also operated internationally. During the 1960s, the Yakuza, they had in excess of over 200,000 members. But this number drastically decreased following many legal and social establishments in Japan who just started to discourage the development of the Yakuza association. And even now, the Yakuza, they engage in an array of criminal activities. Many of the Japanese citizens, they remain fearful of the threat that these individuals pose to their safety. Nonetheless, there remains no strict prohibitions on the Yakuza gang, despite the fact that many legislations have been passed by the government aimed at discouraging revenue, and they're increasing the liability for criminal activities. The Yakuza, they derive from people who peddled illicit, stolen, or shoddy goods, and bakudo, which is another name for those who are involved in gambling. Individuals regard the gambling society with disdain. The development of the Yakuza groups, they were composed of misfits, delinquents who joined, and they would form these Yakuza groups by extorting their customers in local markets by selling fake and shoddy goods. Frightening. Prospective Yakuza members, they come from all walks of life, but the most romantic stories come from how the Yakuza had accepted a member who had been abandoned or exiled from their biological parents. They have very loyal members in the Yakuza, very, very loyal. So that speaks to Hiroshi, in a sense, how he's bragging about being in this association. He thinks it's a good thing, and it's really not. Most of the community looks very down on these particular group of people. It kind of goes to show you the structure where Hiroshi stands in life. He developed somewhat of a crush on Junko, but when he courted her, she turned him down. But it wasn't personal. She just wanted to focus on herself, on her school, on her work, on her growth in life. She's 17 years old, about to graduate. She's trying to save money. She's very responsible, and being with another individual in that kind of sense of the word was not in her plans. And she didn't have any clue about his Yakuza associations, which makes sense. But the only thing is that no one dared turn Hiroshi down, especially after he would mention about his affiliation with the Yakuza gang. He didn't take her rejection lightly. He was furious by her rejection, livid. On November 25th of 1988, Hiroshi and his Yakuza gang member friend, Shinji Minato, who was 16 years old at the time, they were wandering around the local park in Masato, and they had intentions of robbing and raping the local women in the area. And they were experts at finding their easy target. And around 8:30, they spotted Junko. She was on her bicycle. She was riding home from her shift at her job. And then suddenly, Shinji, he just kicks Junko off of her bicycle and flees. That's when Hiroshi approached Junko, and he offered to walk her home. She accepted his offer. But what she didn't know was that Hiroshi, he was pretending to be an innocent and concerned bystander that was actually trying to save her, because this incident was not a coincidence at all. Hiroshi wasn't walking Junko home, but instead he led her to an abandoned warehouse where he then proceeded to rape Junko. He then took her to a hotel where he raped her again. He also threatened to kill her. And then from the hotel, Hiroshi called Shinji and two of his other Yakuza member friends, Joe Ogura and Yasushi Watanabe, and he bragged to them about how he raped Junko. So then Joe, he goes and he says, hey, can you keep Junko at the hotel, because we want to come slide through and get a little piece of that as well. He wanted to know if it was possible if him and the boys could come through so that they could take turns sexually assaulting her. These boys, they had a history of gang rape, and they had actually recently kidnapped a young girl, actually, and they raped her, but they released her afterwards, so lucky her. At around 3 a.m., Hiroshi took Junko to a nearby park. That was where Shinji, Joe, and Yasushi were waiting. And this is going to be the end of part 1. I will have part 2 out for you sooner than you think. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful, blessed, and safe day. Thank you.
Look, once upon a time, and I heard that I was ugly. Came from a bitch who nigga wanna